Hello YouTube. Yes, I've done it again. I've bought something that's too big to fit in my teardown area. I'm just going to have to get a bigger teardown area. But until that happens, I'm going to have to do with this. So yeah, here we go. This is a Betacam video tape player thing. It's a broadcast grade player of some sort of antiquated tape media, presumably from high-end video recorders, video cameras, presumably of some of the sort of Betamax sort of technology, seeing as it's called a Betacam, but I might be wrong on that. I'm not an expert in video stuff. So what's it got? It's got a little panel on the front with some buttony bits. It's got some more buttons here. It's got a great big slot in the front where the tape goes, and yeah, there we go. So let's have a look inside. Screws on the top are captive, that's quite nice, designed to be serviced. Very thick steel top, actually, clearly made to last. So what have we got here? In the back here we have 3 cards in a card cage type arrangement. There are also 3 more cards which you can't quite see because I can't move this thing far back enough over here, but we'll get to them. Yeah, let's take a look at these back ones first. So, what is all this? Lots and lots of Sony branded chips, lots of little inductors. I might actually take some of them off and save them because it's quite handy to have a stock of inductors. Lots of these hybrid things that Sony put in all their old stuff. Oh, we've got a little bodge. There we go. So a resistor and a couple of resistors and a cap, rather crudely soldered over an IC there. Lots of shielded wires going to other parts of the board. That's quite nicely done. And yes, some reasonably big connectors. Let's see what's on this one. So on this one we have a couple of big Sony branded chips, some shielded parts up here. I don't quite know what's in these. Can I take the tops off? Let's see if I can take the top off one of them. No, they're soldered down. Okay, that's just a whole lot of little tunable ferrite transformery things. Quite nice. And some more connectors. Let's see what's on this one. Oh, this one's pretty plain. We've got what look like a couple of EEPROMs. They probably held programming for some microprocessor type things. And, oh, an NEC chip there. And a couple more Sony branded chips. Probably not much point looking them up. I very much doubt I'll find anything on them. Probably all completely proprietary Sony stuff made for Sony kit. So these couple of boards, if I zoom out again, are right behind the player here, and they look like the amplifiers for the heads. So yes, they have shielded wires going directly to them instead of through the main connector. So if I unplug that, we also have some non-Sony branded op amps. What else we got here? A little shielded box with another Sony chip in. Yeah, the rest of this is really standard analog stuff. I don't expect there's anything on the back. Shall we have a look? No, nothing much on the... Oh, another bodge! That's that's interesting. Yeah, what have we got there? Another cap and a resistor. Sold. Oh, there's another bodge there. Wow, and another one there. So we've got a bodge here, a bodge there, a bodge there, and another bodge there. Awesome. Well done, Sony. Let's see what's on the other one. Okay. So these must be preamps of some sort. Yeah, some funny little transistory things and more of these Sony hybrids. And nothing else on that board actually, that's fairly boring. Let's just have another look at the back. Because the last one was so entertaining. Ah, no bodges on this one. Fair enough. Right, so that's the main boards out of the way. Let's, what next? Let's take the front off. Okay, so here's the front panel. There was a power switch here, there, a couple of windows for the displays. We'll take a look at them. That's the little control panel hidden away behind a window there. Main buttons there. That's about it really on the back. There's not a whole lot to see. And this is what the front looks like. So we've got some very nice vacuum fluorescent displays here and here. Hopefully I'll be able to reuse them. I suspect they're going to be driven by very proprietary custom chips, but I don't know, I might be able to improvise something to drive them. This one in particular, this VU meter, would be very readily reused. The bottom one, it has these dot matrix elements, so yeah, that could potentially be reused for something, or just sold on eBay. Some buttons there, some standard boring stuff. Okay, let's take the bottom off and see what's underneath it. So this is where it starts to get really interesting, all this nice mechanical stuff here. What I'm going to do now is break it down into separate chunks off video, and then come back to you with a part at a time, so you can get a better view of what I'm doing. Right, so carrying on, I've broken it down a bit into some more manageable chunks, which we shall now go through. Boring stuff first. Here's a back panel. Nothing much to salvage there. The BNCs aren't particularly good quality, they're probably 75 ohms as well. This connector's not bad quality. I've got some matching ones to them, so I'll probably take that off and scrap the rest of it. This is the audio output board. some really nice big clunky XLR connectors, probably salvage them, and some isolation transformers. I'll stick them back on eBay. There's apparently someone who wants them. In fact, I'll probably stick the whole lot back on eBay. Interestingly, there's this little mod on the back. It looks a bit crusty. It might have been something done by the owner actually, rather than a factory mod. So yeah, there we go. Stick it on eBay as well, probably. This is the VU meter vacuum fluorescent display module. Now it's a little. I'll just take it back on screen. So it's quite interesting, this one. So it's got this little power supply thing in it, which is fairly crusty actually. The capacitors are going a bit nasty. It plugs straight into this board, which did the rest of the handle the rest of the display, and the buttons as well. So if we look on the back of this, all these little transistors right next to the connectors for this thing. I reckon these just drive each of them individually, and it was actually controlled through analog. I also rather suspect this power supply is also the power supply for that as well. They just put it off board in a little shielded module, so it doesn't radiate everywhere. Yeah, that's an OKI controller chip for this by the look of it, but yeah, I don't know. I think the potential to salvage that and reuse it is probably quite limited. It's going to be a pain in the ass trying to unsolder all these connections. So yeah, I don't know what I'll do with that. Might just take it back on eBay. Yeah, see how it goes. So that brings us to the really interesting part, which is the mechanical bit, which is probably what you've all been waiting for. So yeah, this is actually really quite nice. We've got these two big, really high precision motors here, a couple of little solenoids, the control boards for the motors, complete with some power transistors. Looks like it was some sort of servo system, as you'd expect, to get the speed correct. Looking at the front here, I don't know if you can see, but you'll see when I take it apart. In there, behind those little optical heads, there's a metal encoder disc. So these obviously had some feedback to the control stuff. I'm not going to try and like power the system off or anything. There's plenty of videos on YouTube of beta type players loading their tapes. Yeah, let's take it apart. Okay, so taking that off, and the first thing we can see is this very nice precision metal encoder wheel. I'll zoom in on that for you. There we go. So yeah, that's very nice. I'll be able to use that in some other project, I expect. Nice precision steel rods. We'll look at that later. So that's quite nice. This one has some little optical encoders, sorry, not optical encoders, optical sensors, just to detect what position it was in. Obviously they were both geared together, so they only needed that on one of them, didn't need to do it on both of them. That's quite a nice mechanism. Okay, so the cleaning brush is actually for one of the heads which is mounted here. I guess that's the audio head since this is a video head. And indeed. So the cleaning brush arm has this little wheel on which engages with this little lump here. So when it when this wheel rotates past, the little brush comes in the correct position and wipes over the head. That's quite a nice little touch. Here we have a little rather sharp glass blade. I don't know what function that serves, maybe just to guide the tape in a precision way. That roller is filthy, so I guess this probably didn't work very well by the time it was scrapped. Dirty wheels. So here is the servo control board, and it's actually got quite a lot of stuff on it. So that was a big backplane connector that connected into the rest of the system. You've got some sort of funky Sony hybrid thing there, what looks like a memory retention capacitor, which is 0.47 farad at 5.5 volts. Some sort of power IC there. We've got the power transistors on either side. Don't recognise any of the chips, but they're probably just some sort of op-ampy type thing. So yeah, there we go. And on this board we have what looks like a microcontroller, NEC microcontroller, and a couple of other chips and another optical sensor. So here we have another motor, a little flat motor, rather like the sort of thing you get in floppy disk drives. Sounds a bit nasty. Guess that's gone round and round and round a whole lot of times. Bearings wearing out a bit. Other than that, it's pretty boring. Raining screws. There's one of the audio heads. is another audio head that did not want to come out. So how do we get this bit out? And here is the video head drum. Very nicely engineered. As you can see, very substantial aluminium chassis, far beyond what you'd ever get in a consumer video player. Very nicely made, and extremely modular as well. Actually, as you saw with my taking it apart, everything came out in chunks, which is quite nice. These little guide tubes, I think, are actually ceramic. They feel extremely smooth. So yeah, quality bit of kit. Let's have a look at some of these modules. So here are the video heads. 4 heads. I don't really know much about beta video standards or whether 4 heads is good or not, but that's what it's got. And this looks like the rest of the motor. So let's look at one of these. Okay, so this little solenoid engaged or disengaged this little brake pad. To stop, presumably stop the video tape unwinding itself within the cassette, which would have caused no end of problems. So it pays to be rather careful while handling these things, because they are incredibly thin and fragile and delicate, and you do feel stupid when you accidentally muck up all the little veins on them. So here we can see the brake assembly. So it's not at all obvious how you're meant to get the motor off without completely trashing this bit. I mean, there's holes in it to undo the screws, but great, that just made it rattle. see. I've done it wrong. Now I can't do it right because the screws are preventing it from turning properly. Finally, there we go. So there were two tiny little grub screws there, which were not particularly accessible. And here's the motor, which looks like, at least on the rear end, it is actually a ball bearing motor. So that's good. Nice high quality motor. Right, what's left? This bit. So this is the loading mechanism. There's not a great deal to see here, but I will take it apart anyway, and we will see what there is to see. I'll find my screwdriver. So this is quite nice, actually. Standard, I think they're standard pitched timing belts. They'll be useful. Another optical sensor board, and another little motor with a little wheel on, so you can actually move it manually if you have to. That's quite nice. And what is on here? Oh yes, a couple more little optical sensors, and I think that is about it. Well, there we go. That is that pretty much demolished. Oh yeah, one other thing that I found I thought was quite interesting. The wire they used in this, the shielded wire, was quite unique. So they have these little mini ribbon cables of either 2 or 3 wires, with one or two signal cables in, and the shielding is actually foil, which goes all the way down one, and then the other one, the foil just continues and wraps around some bare wire, which is quite a nice solution if you want to put one of these strip connectors on the end and not have to muck about terminating the shielding properly and soldering an extra cable to it and wiring all that in and then putting heat shrink over it. So yeah, that was quite a nice touch. Yeah, there we go. Probably not as good as the aircraft stuff I've been doing, but I couldn't find any of that, and this is what there was. So yeah. Thanks for watching.